Yeah, who am I to pass up a corny joke? Let's do it. Michigan State basketball gets divine intervention with its win against Penn State, and also Michigan State football, big game hunting at a certain position.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of all the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, how on earth are we all doing to start your week or maybe even end your weekend with us here right at Locked On Spartans, part of the number one ranked Locked On Podcast Network, guys. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below your second MVP of this basketball game that took place Saturday, because obviously Divine Ugochukwu is going to grab the gold here for MVP honors. But guys, we're not going to just talk about basketball. We're going to get into football. Could there be some big game hunting going on at a certain position for your Michigan State Spartans? We'll get to some mailbag questions, but first things first, let's talk about your top 10 basketball team, because woohoo! Was that a sweaty Saturday afternoon? Nothing's better than sitting back watching the Michigan State Spartans play some basketball as double-digit favorites. You're in for a stress-free afternoon, and that was not quite what we got. Oh, my God. Down 3 points at halftime. It was a very hairy game until the absolute bitter end. Well, look, the Michigan State Spartans, they roll out with a 76-72 victory, the first time an opposing team has scored north of 70 points against our Spartans. So, look, we're going to talk about things that kind of were concerning in that game, but as we do after every victory, let's talk about things that went great for Michigan State, because, hey, you never apologize about any road win in conference play. So, yes, Michigan State favored by 11.5 or 12.5, whatever you saw. Okay, a win is a win is a win, right, guys? And Tom Izzo said after the game, quote, good teams have to find a way to win. And we already know this based on last year, right? If you want to win your conference, you're going to have to skate out with some games just like this, right? Like the Iowa game last year, where they had to clinch the Big Ten title. That was kind of a hairy game, even as big favorites. Or the Maryland game last year. Or how about Rutgers at Madison Square Garden last season? I mean, even that was a little bit of a dicey game at times. But hey, good teams find a way to walk out with a game here. And Michigan State, they did some things very well in this game. Overall, they shot great from three-point land, namely Divine Ugochukwu, of course. But as a team, they shot pretty well from three. They out-rebounded the other team, as they always do this season. But my lordy, did they deal themselves some self-inflicted adversity? They gave up 23 points off turnovers. They were sloppy with the ball. They saw the other team's bench go for 42 points. Michigan State, hey, what do we always say, right? Defend, rebound, run. Okay, well, the defense wasn't as great as it has been all season. Yeah, they rebounded. That was never in question. But the running part, you only got 4 fast break points. But yet, here you are, walking away with the win. And even Izzo said, quote, I almost wanted to apologize because his team outplayed us. Michigan State also didn't really finish strong at the rim. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And, credit to Penn State. That was a team that just did not want to go away. Michigan State, they go up 10. I went and talked to my wife for all of 90 seconds, and I came back, and all of a sudden it was a 2-point game. Like, my God, they even erased that moment in the game where it seemed like Michigan State was just going to pull out and finish this thing, maybe even cover the spread. But no, that did not happen. But, guys, you know what did happen? Divine Ugochukwu, 23 points, obviously a career high. And Tom Izzo, never one to let anyone get too high on their horse. He just has a career game. And all that Izzo said to start off his remarks on Divine Ugochukwu was basically, we have some work to do defensively. Yes, he did great offensively, but yeah, he still has a long way to go defensively, which that's what makes Izzo great. That's what turns a program into a well-oiled machine. Never get anyone too comfortable with how they're playing. Anyway, guys, we'll let Divine get a little comfortable with how he played, because we cannot stress how insane of a game that was from the transfer from Miami. It's one thing to have your first start at Michigan State here at the 2 position, like a position that's Not necessarily what he is brought in here for. He was brought in here to be Jeremy Fears' backup point guard. But there needs to be a solution at that 2 position. Izzo's been talking about that for a little bit of time now. So why not just go ahead, plug in Divine there? And when we say we can't stress how insane the game was, you probably already know this, but he wasn't necessarily a shooter at Miami last year. He shot 17% from three-point land last season. Guys, as a whole, in his freshman season at Miami, he hit just 6 3-pointers all of last year, and yesterday goes 5 for 5. Perfect from behind the arc. And also, from free throw land, this wasn't a situation where, he was a good free throw shooter, it just never materialized from long range. No, even last year, he was a 62% free throw shooter, and he drilled those 2 at the very end of the game to ice this game for your Michigan State Spartans. So, out-of-body game from him, but maybe, I'm not saying that you should expect 5 from 5 from him, every single night. That's obviously not what I'm talking about. But could he be closer to a 37% shooter than he is a 17% shooter? Because even last year, when you're watching his film, the stroke isn't too bad. It's not really a hitch to it. Mechanically, it all looked pretty sound. It looked quick. It looked decisive. Maybe it's finally going to materialize here. Certainly materialized in Happy Valley, and for that we are grateful. But, man, if there's no Divine Ugochukwu, there's no Michigan State victory that we're talking about right now. Now, of course, some other guys had pretty solid games too. Jackson Kohler, he had 10 points on the night, but specifically 10 points in the first half to go along with 8 rebounds. And that has to be recognized, because if Jackson didn't have a good first half, Michigan State might be down 7, 9, maybe even double-digit points going into halftime. Whereas, you guys were able to mitigate the damage. Jackson Kohler, as well as Divine, obviously, he helped you keep your head above water to keep you in striking distance to have that great run that they started the second half with. So shout out to Jackson Kohler for a strong first half. And Jordan Scott, another fine game off the bench, 7 points, 5 rebounds. And outside of that, there's a few guys that had just okay games, right? Like Kurt Tang, 8 points, 12 minutes. I would say that's very efficient offensively, but 2 turnovers where look, Penn State is very good at forcing turnovers out of the other team, right? They have been for quite some time under Mike Rhodes. Those turnovers by Kerr, not necessarily high-effort turnovers by Penn State, kind of just put a Christmas bow on top of the ball and nearly handed it to them. So I'm sure Izzo will be delighted when he sees those in film. Carson Cooper, look, 10 points. That's awesome. 6 of 6 from the free throw line. That's great. What did he do from the field, though? I think it was 2 of 8 from the field. And again, we're going to get to the finishing at the rim woes here in a little bit. Jeremy Fears, yeah, fine. On box score, it says 8 points, 9 assists. That's all fun and well. That's an okay game because he also matched it with 3 turnovers. And he went 2 of 5 from the field. And as a matter of fact, we got a little bit of a slump here from Jeremy Fears. And this is, of course, after the North Carolina game when myself and every other Michigan State fan just rants and raves about how great he's doing offensively so far this season. But after that, the 3 games ever since North Carolina, he is 4 of 21 from the field in his last 3 games. Now, this isn't me saying I'm selling all my shares in Jeremy Fears stock. No, far from it. But yeah, a little bit of a blip here ever since he went nuclear in the second half in Fort Myers Beach against North Carolina. Guys, we're going to get to a few things that didn't go so great in this game, and then we'll transition to football. We'll talk about recent transfer portal additions, or rather I should say subtractions, really, and how this could possibly mean who Michigan State is going to really target in the transfer portal. But first, guys, need to talk your ears off about Aura Frames because, well, guys, if you're doing holiday shopping, look no further than Aura Frames because, yes, the holidays, they're pretty much officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every single time. It's not just something you wrap. It is a way to share memories because Aura, they're not just your average picture frame, guys. You can preload the frame with photos before getting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. You're not fuddling around with some app on Christmas morning to figure it out. No. It's no headaches. It's just instant smiles. Grandparents, newlyweds, parents, pretty much anyone that loves photos will love this gift. And not just photos, though, because you could also upload 30 2nd videos to these frame guys. It comes gift ready, no price tag, no wrapping needed. It's a huge win all the way around, guys. And for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code checkout. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and the frames, yes, indeed, they sell out fast, so order yours now to get it on time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions, they apply. So yes, a win is a win, but yeah, a lot closer against a Penn State team that probably will not be finishing in the top half of the Big Ten, to say the least here. So what didn't we like? What does Izzo have to rail on? And I gotta say, maybe he came into this game wanting to leave with something to rail on, because I'm going to be honest here. You come out of the under 16 timeout to start this game, and your lineup is Denim Wojcik, Kurtang, Jordan Scott, Jesse McCulloch, and Cam Ward. And no disrespect, these are fine players in their own right, but oh my, that's the first lineup off the bench here. Is this the patented mid-February Tom Izzo self-inflicted adversity game coming to town here? That's certainly what it felt like. It's time to have a little bit of a closer game by calculation than we want, and give my team something to think about here. That's certainly what it felt like. I'm only half joking about all of that, but look, I don't know if we need to see a lot more Denim Wojcik, in the first half or in key moments of Big Ten games moving forward this season here. I get why he had to play. You kind of handcuff yourself when, your backup point guard actually has to be the starting 2 guard, because no one else wants to stick their head out and be that guy. Because, that's what happens when, Divine and Jeremy have to come out of the game. Your 3rd guy, Denim Wojcik, transfer from Harvard, he comes in, and look, the box score, the traditional box score, said that he was a -7. Okay, but if you want a more analytical look at it, you go over to barttorvik.com. You use their box score plus minus, and this kind of takes away the playing time. This is a way to kind of assume that everyone played 100 possessions in this game. What did they affect in this game? It comes out to a -29.1 in the Torvik box score plus minus, which is the lowest on the team, by a pretty decent margin too. He had 3 turnovers in his short time on the court here. How much did he play? He played 6 minutes, 3 turnovers. It's not just that. He also refused to shoot the ball until there was a moment in the game where he was literally the only guy on the side of his court. He had to shoot that ball, and it looked like me out there. And that's not a good thing. It wasn't necessarily even close to going in off the hand. So look, it really felt like just Tum Nairn, and not even like the good years of Tum. This guy, yes, he can in theory distribute the basketball. Hard stop at that, though. Look, I don't want to make this whole segment just a rail on Denim Wojcik segment. Look, what did you expect from this guy? He played 15 minutes a game last year at Harvard. He scored 2.5 points per game. He was a 26% shooter. We're not asking the world of him, but we also can't be in a situation where this guy's the first point guard off the bench at the under 16 timeout. So this also isn't an issue if Kurtang or Trey Fort have, really put themselves out in front to be a starter at the 2 position. Ideally, it still is Jeremy Fears at the 1, and then it is Kurtang at the 2 or Trey Fort at the 2. But neither of those guys have done well enough, so now it's Divine at the 2. Now when Jeremy Fears needs a blow right after the game, in comes Denim Wojcik, because there's only 3 guys that can really handle a ball on this team. It's Jeremy, it's Divine, it's Denim. I don't really trust, and clearly Izzo doesn't trust anyone else to take the ball up the court here. So, look, speaking of bad plus minuses, you go back to the traditional plus minus. I was blown away by this. Trey Fort had a -11 in just 4 minutes of action. How is that even possible to have that disastrous of a plus minus in just 4 minutes? Anyway, he went 1 of 4 shooting. Yeah, it's still a work in progress. I have no reason to believe that they will go away from Divine at the 2 position. It seemed to work really well. hell, it pretty much won you the game, but it also kind of almost lost you the game because, man, you get handcuffed with who is coming in as your backup point guard here. But, oh well, there is other things or other fish to fry here as far as the negativity basket goes. And speaking of basket, Michigan State had a hard time putting the ball in the basket around the rim. They finished 11 of 23 at the rim in this game, and this carries over from the Duke game where they finished 10 of 23 at the rim. So, look, against Duke, longer team. Duke had the number one opposing field goal percentage defense. So there, okay, you can kind of understand it. Penn State, not so much. That's a hard one to kind of figure out why they finished so poorly at the rim, below 50% for the second game in a row. Now, Carson Cooper, again, 10 points. He played fine in his own right, but he was 2 of 7 at the rim. That was disappointing. And even Jeremy Fears finishing 2 of 4 at the rim, and those 2 misses weren't necessarily close. So Izzo said that, hey, they got 2-a-days coming up. School's over. Finals are over. It's time to, quote, rip their tail off as far as finishing at the rim. And there's one other line item, too, that I wanted to discuss because there are some people that are getting a little nervous or just outright negative on Cohen Carr. And, like, he had 3 points. All right, he had 1 free throw, and then he had that thunderous dunk, of course, which is his patented move now. And he was shut out during that stretch against Duke, so this is probably bleeding over from what happened last game where he was a non-factor once Duke switched to the zone. And he also hasn't hit a three-pointer in 5 games. So there's a lot of people selling their stock or saying that Cohen Carr has not improved enough from last season to this one. And, well, I think that, yes, there could have been more improvement or that he is in a little bit of a slump right now. I still think that he has been better this year than last. So I think it's a little overboard. You know, the folks saying that, oh, he hasn't improved at all from last year. No, I still think that he is a factor. It's just been a little bit of a rough patch here. So what better time to right your own ship than, well, against, no disrespect to these teams, against Toledo, against Oakland, and then against Cornell before Big Ten play starts up in actually rather tough fashion on the road against a very good Nebraska team. But, guys, let's leave the basketball court for now because is Michigan State big game hunting at the linebacker position or the weak side linebacker, the nickel position? Because, look, there's been some portal news, some more subtractions. Now, there's been a few ever since we've talked about it, but let's just pull these people out and highlight them really quick. Ade Willie. Now, this is a guy that played 4 games at the nickel position, had an injury, didn't play the rest of the season, but clearly a starting caliber player. Now, this one I literally couldn't believe. Darius Snow entering the transfer portal, and I thought, hand up, you count on me to be the Michigan State expert. I'm supposed to be. I like to think that I am. I had no clue that Darius Snow still had eligibility left to even transfer. That was crazy to me. So, hand up. I got to out myself for that one. Didn't even know he could come back if he wanted to, but he will be entering the transfer portal. And then Samaj Bridgman. This is the former 4-star. He transferred over from Michigan. Kind of started the year already behind 2 other guys for that linebacker position. But look, you're losing those guys. That includes Darius Snow, who had 200-plus snaps. Wayne Matthews, he graduates. He played nearly 700 snaps. Dontavius Nash, Khalil Majid. Those were 2 guys that were kind of swapping out at the nickel position ever since Ade Wiley was sidelined. But yeah, this is losing a lot of guys, right? As a matter of fact, the only other linebackers that have 100-plus snaps that could return next year, Ice Moa is one of them, and then Jordan Hall, who has not made his decision yet. Now, you still are returning. You are returning Brady Pretzloff, Marcellus Pulliam, but man, okay, you're losing Willie, losing Snow, Wayne Matthews, the weak side linebacker, he's not coming back. That position's going to be important here, whether you want to classify it as the nickel, that weak side linebacker, the cash position, the Viper. There's 1,000 names for that really interchangeable position where, okay, it's a nickel, it's a weak side linebacker. Sometimes it could be classified as both, whatever it is, guys. It's an important position in the Joe Rossi defense. And this is no disrespect to the guys returning at those positions, but you're going to turn the keys over to someone that's very inexperienced if that is the route. Or, hey, Michigan State, didn't you just get like a massive donation? Isn't a good chunk of that going to be going to NIL? And yes, well, we on this show have talked about that. Many of these improvements in the transfer portal will probably just be within the margins. Can you just make a position group average, which would be a big upgrade from where it was last year. I'm not taking back anything that we've said, because we've also said, yes, there will be a few splashes. I imagine that, maybe 2 or 3 on each side of the ball. I think one of them will be at this linebacker position. Now, is that to say for sure they're going to rope in a big fish here? No, but I also have reason to believe that Michigan State is peeking their heads out, and they're going to try to make a massive splash at this weak side linebacker kind of nickel position here. So, look, that's by attrition. What you're seeing so far, that's just based on what I know. But yes, there's going to be a few splashes here. Most of it will just be, marginal improvements. But amongst these splashes, I could see it being in this linebacker position, or at least that's where the efforts are going right now. So we'll stay tuned. We still got a few weeks until the transfer portal formally opens, of course. But yes, when it does, they need help at that position. They're losing some guys there, and they want a massive upgrade at that position, guys. So that's where we got here. We'll talk about some other transfer portal items. We'll take a few listener questions. Why not? But first, guys, need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's right, guys. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. How about Aiden Hutchinson's interception against Matt Stafford? Whew. Now, we'll see if the Lions actually pull that game out. But, hey, you get what I'm talking about, right? Big momentum-changing turnover. Okay, maybe you want to react to that. Because, well, with FanDuel, you can react to it and place bets as the action unfolds every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Hey, a receiver gets hot. A defense tightens up. The running back is starting to carry the rock a little bit stronger. Whatever it is, guys, FanDuel is letting you jump in on the moment, not just with their live spreads, their live money lines, of course, but the live player props too, guys. And hey, let's just leave the football field here for a little bit. Let's go to the world of darts, because right now, Monday, Cameron Menzies, Max Hopp, they're favored in their match, but parlay both of those guys for a plus 141 parlay. So, guys, whether it's darts, whether it's NFL, you name it, be right in the middle of all the action this season. Visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. It's FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you. All right, few other line items here in the transfer portal, because there's been a handful of players that have joined ever since we've last talked. Justin Denson, one of these guys, defensive back, and that has to be, oh boy, probably behind Nick Marsh for most obvious transfer portal entry award winner right now. So kind of left halfway through the season-ish for a little bit, and yeah, it just based on the cryptic tweets and everything, you can kind of realize that, okay, this is not going to be for the long haul here for Justin Denson. Tyler Gillison, edge player. He played 11 snaps in 4 games last season. Long snapper Caden Schickel, and then offensive lineman Rashawn Rogers. I'll be blunt about it. I know pretty much everyone on the roster for both basketball, football. That was the first time in my entire life I've read Rashawn Rogers' name. So best of luck to all these guys in their next steps. But I'm not going to overreact to much of any of those guys. Just like unlike the linebacker, where, okay, I kind of can, see some stars aligning here for, okay, this is where the big splash is going to be. Ideally, or that's what the staff hopes, at least. Whereas these guys, obviously you're going to need help. Defensive secondary, you need that regardless of what Justin Denson was going to do. Same with edge, long snapper at whatever, and then offensive line. Yeah, you're going to need help regardless there. So anyway, let's move it forward, guys. We are still on offensive coordinator watch. And Tigers fan 63 writes in, thoughts on Gino Gadoli for offensive coordinator. Just got nominated for quarterbacks coach of the year finalist at Notre Dame. Midwest guy, played quarterback at Cincinnati for D'Antonio's first year there. We actually discussed Mr. Gadoli here not too long ago. We were throwing around names for offensive coordinator. I also threw around Cade Bell. I believe the guy's name is from Pitt. That's their offensive coordinator. We threw around Andy Kotelnicki, of course. And then, Gino was another name that we threw out here. So the really quick skinny on him, he is from Kentucky. He did go to Cincinnati. He also went to Central Michigan, too, to get his master's. But, yes, he's a quarterback coach and passing game coordinator at Notre Dame. I would be for it because it's kind of the offense that you envision a Michigan State team running, right? Like, it's a very pro-style offense. It's one of the more run-heavy offenses in the nation, which is a twofold thing. Like, one, yes, run heavy. That's great. Establish an identity. Hold on to time of possession. But the other fold to that, too, for Notre Dame is kind of easy to have a heavy run-pass split when your running back is Jeremiah Love. But even if Jeremiah Love wasn't there, it's still the bones of the offense that you do want to see. So my thoughts on Geno, I'd be fine with it. No question. Now, there was another coordinator whose name was kind of being thrown around here on the message boards the last few days, and that is Nick Sheridan, who is the quarterback coach and co-offensive coordinator down at Alabama. Now, I don't know. Like, that's kind of my reaction. I'm just like, yeah, okay. Sure, yeah, okay, that'd be fine. On one hand, cool, yeah, you're pulling Alabama's co-offensive coordinator away. But, like, on the other hand, why would they let their co-offensive coordinator get away if he's really that good? Shouldn't that also kind of be a concern that they would just willingly let him go up to East Lansing, even if it is for, a title upgrade? You wouldn't just be co-offensive coordinator, it'd just be your whole offense. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just too prisoner of the moment. And yes, Alabama is in the college football playoff. Like, that should be great. That should mean everything about them is awesome. Except, God, that they're almost in the college football playoff in spite of their offense. Because that's one of the worst rushing attacks this season, not just in the SEC, but also nationally. They just can't run the ball this year. Not too inspired by that. Hey, that's cool. Nick Sheridan, he's a quarterback coach. Hey, Ty Simpson, he's really good, right? He was for the better part of 2 months, and then, I don't know, kind of regressed the last month of the season. So I'm sure it'd be just okay here. I would kind of hope for bigger and better things, though. Yeah, I guess it'd be this pro-style offense that you're kind of hoping here in East Lansing. And yes, like, it was better last year at Alabama than it was this season, so maybe that's why I'm prisoner of the moment. But if it is Nick Sheridan, that would be my reaction. Oh, okay. Maybe it'll maybe it'll work. Yeah, possibly, perhaps. I don't know. So anyway, guys, let's move on to another mailbag question. This one comes from Zrar, and the question goes: if you had to pick someone from last year's recruiting class, assuming they stay, that didn't play, and someone from this year's recruiting class to become immediate contributors this next season, who would it be? Personally, I'd like to see Jace Clarizio and Colin Campbell get some playing time. Thanks, and go green. Well, thanks a lot for the emails, Rar. Always coming in with good questions, so thank you very much for being a repeat customer here. I'm going to go with Derek Simmons, which kind of seems like a cop-out answer because he was the top guy in last year's recruiting class, the 4-star defensive lineman from Frankenmuth, and he got a little bit of run this year. So I might be cheating since you did say someone that didn't play, but he only played in 2 games, 44 snaps. He had 2 tackles. And yes, Alex Van Sumeren does come back. Ben Roberts, he announced that he's going to return, but you are losing Grady Kelly, Raquan Buckley, Jalen Satchel. Those guys have all left, so there's going to be snaps available at the defensive line position. And Derek Simmons, as a second-year player, I fully expect him to be not even competing for the second role. Like, you could almost sharpie him in to be on that 2 deep, but can he even compete for starting snaps here or a bulk of the snaps midway through next season? So yeah, I'm going to go with Derek Simmons here. That's going to be a position of need. Like, you need bodies there, and you need production from that position too. Outside of him, I mean, Charles Taplin caught a few passes this year. Anyway, he got a few snaps. Braylon Collier didn't play, but I'm still very high on him. Jaden Savory had arguably the catch of the year against Boston College very early on. But like, as far as this year's class, oh, man, it's hard for just true freshmen to see the field in football, right? And especially at these positions I'm going to rattle off, because all your 4-stars that you got are offensive linemen. Okay, like, it's hard for a true freshman to see time at the offensive line position, no matter how highly they're rated. Tight end as well. I mean, I don't know. Joey Caudill, I guess, could get some early run, but just like we said, Jaden Savory, Michael Masunis will be back. Kai Rios, why not? He might return. So, and the quarterback position too. Cade Kaufman's your 4-star. He'll be 3rd in the pecking order when it starts next season. So for this year's recruiting class, how about the only defensive end that you have so far? Corey House? Perhaps? Kid from Memphis? I don't know. I don't really see anyone in this year's class being an instant contributor. Now, I'm happy to be wrong on this, but I don't know. just give me Corey House because, the defensive end position needs help. I assume Michigan State will try to make a splash at that position in the transfer portal. But there's a big difference between they want to make a splash against they will make a splash. A lot of teams in college football want an instant contributor at that position. So on the off chance they don't make that splash, well, everyone that's already here, line up because those snaps are going to be there for the taking, whether it's Santiago, Anelu Lafayette coming off his injury, or true freshman Corey House, whatever it is here. So we're going to end it here, guys. Look, Mario writes in a few questions here. 3 realistic players from the portal to fill 3 positions of need to spend big on. Now, linebacker, we just talked about that could very well be the case. I also want to see offensive line and defensive end too. So I don't have actual names right now since, the bulk of guys will be added in the next few weeks, but those are the position groups. 3 must-win Big Ten games next season. Got to start with at Michigan, especially with how vulnerable that program is right now in light of all the news taking place, obviously. But then the other 2 games, take your pick of Northwestern, at Rutgers, at UCLA, at Wisconsin, and oh my God, that scared the crap out of me. The team ticker sign starts playing the fight song whenever a Michigan State sporting event takes place, and I think women's basketball just started. Oh my God, I just had a heart attack. Anyway, I'm gonna answer this over the fight song. I'm gonna start yelling here. The Northwestern, at Rutgers, at UCLA, at Wisconsin, pick any 2 of those, because you do not want to be in the basement for any longer than you already are in the Big Ten. Those are your basement dwellers. Right now, you got to beat 2 of them at least next season. And last but not least, Jesus. Okay, no, go ahead. Yep. There we go. Yep. Drumline's doing great. The horns. God, it's going to take the rest of my night for my heart rate to go back to neutral. Anyway, 3 food items to be added to the concession stands. We're going to go Conrad's first and foremost, and then we're going to play 2 seasons here. For those late November games, let's get some beer cheese soup somewhere in the concessions. But for those 90-degree games in September, that was some daiquiris for you. There you go, guys. All right. Whew. I'm going to try to just not keel over and die after the fight song behind me just scared the bejesus out of me. But, hey, guys, until next time, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go green.